Hey everyone, it's me, Ariel Adrian. Today we're going to talk about the LGBT debate and slightly offensive. The people who were in it are the anti-LGBT Lauren Witzke and John Doyle. And the pro-LGBT were Karlyn, Borysenko, and Blaire White. This started when there was a thriller drama about some transgender speaker at CPAC. I don't remember exactly. For me, I really do think that the best part of the debate was Lauren Witzke because I think that she came out really strong on her points. People on the comments were accusing her of being very catty and was immature on articulating her points. I have cheered for Lauren Witzke since I first heard about her last April, and I love how she advocates for a more traditional America and is one of the loudest advocates against same-sex marriage. So I'm going to show you a video in which Lauren is asked about the future of the right.
Yeah, so I'm really confused why this is a discussion about the future of the right when we have a liberal, actually she's a Democrat, with one good opinion. We also have a transgender on here. I don't really think we should be giving a platform to this kind of degeneracy, which is a gateway drug to pedophilia. I absolutely disagree. We were the party of traditional marriage. We were the party that opposed gay marriage. We've always been that party. We've always been the party of family. We won handedly in 2016 without the LGBTQ vote. We started losing when we started compromising. So I'm really curious why people who are libertarians, you have a party of freaks who love the free market that you can join. But don't come into our party and try to influence it because that is how we are losing. And in case you haven't noticed, we are losing. They are now advocating for chemical castrations for children. We're spotlighting transgenderism at CPAC. And I am a traditional Christian conservative. I believe in family. I believe that family is the foundation of everything that this country was founded on. And no, I do not believe that we should be compromising our values and spotlighting a lifestyle that is a gateway drug to pedophilia every single time. And you cannot deny it isn't because it's here.
I love how she attacks Karlyn as a liberal, like honestly, she's a lesbian female version of Hunter Avalon. She really did attack Blaire White, calling transgenderism a gateway to pedophilia. I believe she did these things because she believes that these people are unnecessary for the right. I love how she takes pride on traditional values and that she calls these LGBT and lefties freaks and forces them to join the Libertarian Party. I will show you a response video of Blaire White.
Blaire, would you respond?
I think that there's a difference between you spoke sort of to gender ideology, which is definitely rampant on college campuses, definitely taking over culture. I think that's different than just people who, as individuals, may technically be gay, lesbian, bisexual, any of the above. And I think that it's possible to fight against gender ideology while holding true that there are going to be people that are just different in life. I definitely am not here to speak to the future of social conservatism because that's just not my lane. But as far as the party, I think that a big tent is most likely the future. I think that knowing my generation and a lot of people my age, which is mid-20s and Gen Z a little younger, I think that they voted for Trump the first and second time, or just the second time, because Trump kind of ushered the party into an era of a little more secularism. I don't think he was overtly religious. I think to an extent he was a little performative with religion and with prayer and things like that. And I think that attracted a lot of new voters. And I'm not sure that, going full force religious social conservatism is really the future.
I agree with Blaire, not her lifestyle, in that there's a difference between people and ideologies, and it seems that Blaire is saying that she doesn't like gender and LGBT ideology being forced on the culture. I think that John Doyle is correct, but he left out one thing, and that the Reagan coalition was anchored by the moral majority, and he is correct that the left doesn't care about what the right does for the LGBT community, especially when we see this with Richard Grenell. I feel that Karlyn Borysenko did not get her facts straight, in which she accurately stated that the moral majority took over the Republican Party during the 1990s when it was a fixture in the Republican Party during the 1980s. She did not mention Ross Perot or even thought of the 1984 Republican Revolution in which many Democrats were forced out of office. So I'm going to show you a clip on Lauren's assumption.
Yeah, so, Donald Trump, he did do things that made the church have to make excuses for him. His Globo Homo initiative ended up losing him a significant amount of the Christian vote. And we are the base of this party. We make up a huge portion of this party, a way bigger portion than the libertarian sector of the party, no matter how much they want to tell you. So him making those compromises is probably a big part of why we lost. We lost the House in 2018. In 2017, we had the House, the executive branch, and the Senate, and we still failed on conservative issues. They refused to stand up for life. They still passed a budget that actually made us forced Christian taxpayers to fund Planned Parenthood. So every vote lost on social conservatism is, we are significantly more. We are the party that was established in traditional marriage. So I'm curious, when the liberals and the transgenders decided that it was their duty to come and infiltrate our party to make it successful, because we were doing just fine. We started actually losing votes when we started pandering. We lost a significant amount of our base, enough to make an effect and make a dent into the electorate by compromising our values. The only way forward is to stay true to our values that we've always been and established on, and win with them. It's the weakness. People value strength over anything else. And when we started showing weakness and compromise, that's when we started losing. And I don't think that is something that we should continue. I think that we should remain the party of Jesus Christ, the party of life, the party that celebrates family and makes it as easy as possible for Americans to get married and have children. Why would I celebrate a lifestyle that people can't reproduce? You can't reproduce. You just can't. So having families, that is the future of the party. We started losing when we started compromising. Big Tent is a lie.
Lauren, let me jump in there real fast and give Blaire a chance to respond to that.
I love Lauren. I think that she didn't get her facts straight. In a way, the Republicans have started losing voters in 2018, but in reality, it was Paul Ryan's agenda that was in the way of actually passing real America First reforms. She is correct in which she asked about why celebrate a lifestyle in which people can't reproduce. I honestly don't know what impact was not running on socially conservative policies, since many conservative Hispanics came into Republican Party in 2020. It's just the white working class didn't turn out to vote in other states, maybe, except for Iowa. Blaire then responded that people have the right to vote for Republicans no matter what creed. I love John Doyle's response in that equality is not a conservative value and that natural law must be followed to continue on civilization. So I'll show you the funny thing that Karlyn Borysenko had said.
Well, right now, it's not conserving anything because they don't have any power because they lost elections. But I do want to speak to John's point specifically in that he used the magic word, which is pandering. The left panders to the LGBT movement. Trump did advocate for LGBT policies. He did so by appointing the first openly gay member of the cabinet, which the left likes to forget about all the time. He did support this community. He just didn't do it in a way that was pandering. But again, I'm a liberal because I believe in individual liberty, individual freedom. I'm very concerned with preserving specifically our First Amendment values and all of the amendments specifically, but the First Amendment's really my jam, which again does not allow for the state to legislate based on one religion's specific values. But if we want to talk about religion, we can talk about a verse from the Bible, which is 1 Timothy 2, verses 1 through 2, which says, I urge then, first of all, the petitions, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people, for kings and for those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. And I bring that up because that is the only place in the New Testament that really touches on the relationship of Christians to government. And what does it say? It says they should pray for the people in leadership so that they may live peaceful and quiet lives in godliness and holiness. So what does that mean? It means that we should be working on electing a government that allows people to practice whatever religion they want and to live peaceful and quiet lives in godliness and holiness. And the only way that we can do that is by creating a broad coalition of voters who win elections. That's what we should be talking about first and foremost, is how we win elections.
It definitely seemed that she was using Bible verses against the conservatives. She used 1 Timothy verses 1 to 2, which is a verse praying for kings that people will live a quiet life, and she's using it against them because the conservatives don't want gay marriage. She's using the verse to advocate for gay people living that way. It seems that John was laughing because he said that the Bible verse that Karlyn was using was on how to get more gay people into government. He also said that people don't want to be confided in the privacy of their own home because it is something to be ashamed of. Lauren Witzke attacked back, saying that she's wrong to say that a verse doesn't apply to her, but maybe it will apply to these social conservatives. Lauren also accused Karlyn of playing the diversity card to make these Christian conservatives to accept all of this diversity, and that Lauren said that all of this diversity makes a Twitter user say that your daughter asked for it after a man portrayed as a woman came into the bathroom. I'm going to play the second part of Lauren's rant.
You know, how many kids saw Blaire White, giving one of her videos? I know Trump is a cash cow. I know people love to talk about him to get their popularity, but how many children saw her and looked at her and said, you know what, she looks really good. I could do that too, and started transitioning. This is about the children. They are coming for our kids, and we are at a point now where we're going to have to take a stand. Will the party go the way of the LGBTQ? Will the party, we already have a transgender man, woman, I don't know, in California running the Federation for Republican Women. Are we going to let this stand, or are we going to choose to stay with the nuclear family and support the nuclear family? Because from what I've seen from these LGBTQ activists, such as Richard Grinnell, who's an absolute pervert, he refuses to stand up for transgenders in the military, against transgenders in the military. He refuses to stand and make a public statement that, hey, men shouldn't be in women's bathrooms. That's because they're bought, sold, and paid for by these LGBT donors who have seen an opportunity. Trump was a cash cow. He was. If you talk about him and if you are, had a different look or whatever, people would throw themselves at you because it's like, oh, look how inclusive we are. But we're sacrificing everything. And when it comes down to it, I choose preserving the life of little children who are 15% of them are growing up identifying as LGBTQ and transgender. And we should not be giving a spotlight to or a platform to people who operate in a lifestyle where 40% of them end up attempting suicide, eventually. 1 in 4 children growing up struggling with LGBTQ gender dysphoria end up with depression, drug abuse. I think it's 80% of men have a higher risk of HIV. Why would I support that lifestyle? Why would I even make excuses for that lifestyle or try to use?
I want to give Blaire a chance to respond to your statements.
She basically accuses Blaire White of subverting the party when she asked how many children would want to transition. She lambasts a transgender woman running the California Federation of Republican Women. I love how she attacks Richard Grinnell, in which he refuses to stand up against transgenders in the military and also refuses to talk about men in women's bathrooms and is accused of being paid for by big donors. She puts out the hard facts in which 40% would attempt to have suicide. I'm going to show you the exchange between Blaire White and Lauren Witzke.
Real fast, because I know Blaire has a hard out. We haven't heard from Blaire. Just on the statement of Lauren said, Lauren is talking about the subversion in the party, the idea that your choice, that you're transitioning.
Before I
just
want to specifically address what Lauren said about children maybe watching my YouTube videos and thinking that they can be like me or transition or whatever. I don't really know how much you know about me, but I'm probably the most vocal anti-children transitioning person on the internet. It's what I'm. Right. I let you speak.
The best thing you can do for us is grow out your mustache and tell people not to live like you. That is the best thing that you can do to help us, because
Christ
you are not helping.
Christ love, wafting off Lauren. Christ love.
Go at it, guys.
I'm just like, wow. Lauren is very feisty in telling Blaire White to tell other people not to live like Blaire White being trans. Throughout the video, Blaire tries to argue that the children shouldn't be allowed to transition, but Lauren continues to assert that Blaire should tell people not to live like she does. So Blaire and Lauren continue to banter for the rest of the video. Blaire asserts that LGBT people shouldn't be excluded from the Republican Party. She outlines that there is a difference between pandering and not excluding. It seems that she said that the amount of LGBT people who voted for President Trump had been 900,000, according to Lauren, and asserts that the margin was not beneficial enough to influence the election. She said that she wanted to go after the Christian working class, and the LGBT community is hurting the Christian vote. It's like she's pissed at the LGBT Republicans and have blamed the LGBT community for not having Republicans address issues such as transgenderism, LGBT education, and Drag Queen Story Hour, which she does it correctly. I think that Lauren is correct when she said that she wanted 14 million Christian votes, even though I don't like Karlyn Borysenko. She did make a point that we need freedom of religion. Lastly, I will show you the two last catfights between Lauren and Blaire and between Lauren and Karlyn.
Okay, Blaire, I want to, Blaire, let me hear you, what you're going to say.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that there's a little bit of a tit for tat here, but I will say, Lauren, you said that Karlyn was celebrating you being deplatformed. I did see that, and I personally disagree with Karlyn for doing that. I don't like people being banned off Twitter, deplatformed. But I will say you opened this up with saying that I shouldn't be given a platform and that I shouldn't have a say in the party so I think there's a little bit of it to go around. I think everyone should probably just respect each other a little bit more.
No, I didn't say you should be deplatformed from your voice. I was saying that you should not have a platform within a party who stands for traditional marriage, because that is just opposing itself. It makes no sense. Also, when you cannot deny that your people are the ones that are reading dressed in drag to kids at our taxpayers' expense. And I'm just curious, to what extent am I going to be forced to participate in your fetish or delusion while our children are being targeted for pedophilia openly? No, I don't want to give a platform to that lifestyle. And those are your people.
Here's the thing. There is.
Go ahead, Blaire. Sorry.
Okay. There is, and I think this maybe is something that you might not be aware of, or people who are not closer to the LGBT community, knowing the inner workings, that there's actually a huge divide from people who.
It doesn't matter. It's a package deal. It all comes together.
I disagree. I think that there's a huge divide within the community as from people who do support things like Drag Queen Story Hour, one of the things I've been very vocal against children transitioning. So I don't think it's a monolith. I don't think any group is a monolith. The same way that the right wing is not a monolith of just people who believe, in a biblical, definition of conservatism and people who don't. And I think that there's a really big missed opportunity for the right, in the sense that I think LGBT people are actually the best warriors against gender ideology. And seeing children being read to by half-naked drag queens and children going under hormone therapy at 12. I think that people who are from that community coming and speaking out against it do a lot better of a job at trying to stop it than people who are on the outside. Because at the end of the day, Lauren, you could make it part of your platform to be against those things. And even Karlyn, you guys could talk about it, but it's simply the way it works. It's never going to be heard as loud as someone like myself or a gay person coming out of the community. And so I think that when you have, I would venture to say, the majority of LGBT people who disagree with those things, when they feel like they can't speak out against it, because what happens is the right will say, okay, you can speak out against it, but you still get no voice in the party. You're still disgusting. You're still a freak. They don't want to, then they end up staying on the left. And it makes it appear as though all of us agree with those things. But in reality, oftentimes we feel politically homeless, like we don't have a voice over here. And we have to pretend to be leftists or pretend to be along with these things because we don't have a political home.
Well,
so again, I think, so I just want to, 1 second, just one last thing. So again, I think just in general, the overall point of what I think is that you don't benefit from turning people off from voting for you. You just don't.
Okay. Well, listen, here's the deal. Your whole lifestyle really opens the door to everything that you claim to stand against. Now, I'm not really sure if you really stand against the transitioning of children or Drag Queen Story Hour, or if it's just public opinion is against you. Or if public opinion is against you because public opinion matters. I don't really know what's really in your heart. But when you walk out a lifestyle that introduces that to children, I mean, it's there. It is your people. It is part of, that's part of the package deal. It is spearheaded by the LGBTQ movement. Just because you take a normal stance on something, everybody should be opposed to grown men going into young girls' locker rooms or bathrooms. That doesn't make you special. It makes you normal. And just because you dress up as a woman does not mean that you have a special opinion on something that everybody should oppose.
Okay, so
I'm not claiming to be special. I'm just a person that shares my opinions online. And what I'm just trying to tell you is that it's a lot more people than you think within the community, the LGBT community, that agree with me and think the exact same way. Not the exact same way, but on the more radical ideas like children, everything to do with children.
It's all the same.
I mean, you can sit here and you can insist that it's a monolith and insist that we all think that way and that it is a package deal, but it's really not, especially considering gender ideology and how it has manifested now and taken over culture and been popularized. It started it started well after the existence and acknowledgement of gay people or transgender people. Transgenderism used to be a purely medical issue that was treated on a purely medical basis. Gender ideology that we see on college campuses and that oftentimes it's communists spreading it, that came much, much later. So I think that they are two separate things.
Lauren collectively blames the LGBT lifestyle for opening doors to a lifestyle such as allowing the transitioning of children and drag queen story hour, and sees the LGBT lifestyle as a package deal, which means that Lauren Witzke sees the LGBT community as a collective rather than as individuals. Lauren attacks Blaire for not being authentic and doesn't know what's inside Blaire's heart. She later says correctly that the LGBT movement strips parental rights in favor of children doing whatever they want. Another catfight was between Lauren and Karlyn.
Congress
that's
shall
actually
make
where-
no law respecting an establishment of religion. I don't know why Lauren's so against the First Amendment. I think the First Amendment's pretty great. I also think the Second Amendment's pretty great too, because it protects the first. And these are the things that we should actually be conserving, and we can't do that if we can't win elections. The fact of the matter is, Lauren, that every single problem you have with the LGBT movement right now, from giving hormones to kids, medical transition, whatever, this was all caused by the right losing the culture war 30 years ago when they tried to legislate their religion. That is why we're currently experiencing this today. The only way to come back and conserve whatever it is you want to conserve is by winning elections. And the fact of the matter is, it's not just people like Blaire who vote based on LGBT issues. I am straight as an arrow. I'm married to a dude. Between the two of us, I'm the one that's actually married with the family. And so I will say that I absolutely will not vote for a party that treats LGBT people like they are subhuman. I won't do it. Part of the reason that Trump won my vote is because he does not care. He promotes people. He doesn't promote sexualities.
Okay, so first of all, you're using issues again on me that you don't apply for yourself. So Dr. Carl here was the first one to celebrate me being
Karlyn.
banned from Twitter. She was so excited to see that my voice had been silenced. So freedom of speech for thee, but not for me. Absolutely. So, disregard that opinion.
Well, I
Also,
celebrated that you were banned on Twitter because you repeatedly tweeted that my husband should be deported, Lauren. And
He's
now
an
I'm
illegal alien.
thrilled. No, he's
Your
not.
husband-
He has a
your
permanent green
husband-
card. I am
It's
now
from-
thrilled that I don't have to hear you call for my husband to be deported on Twitter, who has had a permanent green card for the last 6 years.
He came into our country illegally. He broke our laws. He did
And
not
then
do it
married
correctly.
an American. How
And
lucky
he
is
has
he?
to go back. He has to go back. I'm sorry,
No, he
Dr.
doesn't,
Carl.
honey. That's not how laws work. It's not how laws work. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I have a husband and you don't, Lauren. I'm sorry. I'm
I love
sorry.
women.
Aw.
You're welcome.
Anyone want to respond? You guys can keep going. Keep going. Blair's like,
Oh, you want me to keep going? Oh, well, I'm in early recovery. So, I've only been clean 3 years. Myself getting in toxic relationships is what kept, me relapsing. So, I'm just doing it with wisdom this time. I'm dating. But my intention is to get married and have children eventually. But I certainly will not be marrying an illegal alien to give him his green card. So, I hopefully will find an American man. I will find an American man.
Lauren, you'll be pleased to know we had several interviews with ICE and they blessed our marriage.
Really? Even though he was illegal and didn't come the right way?
has a
It's
permanent green
crazy.
card, honey. Permanent green
Wow,
card.
we're gonna have to reinvestigate ICE.
Let's go to
But
Blaire.
you know what? Here's the thing though. Like, we can keep talking about my husband all she wants to talk about him, but the fact of the matter is, my husband ain't gonna win us an election. Votes are going to win us elections. I don't know why we're so focused on these issues that are driving people away from voting for things like conserving the First Amendment, conserving the Second Amendment. That's really what I would like to have the
You don't
conversation
even
about.
like
No
the
one has
First Amendment.
conserved
You don't
either of
even
those
like it.
amendments.
So why are you
Blaire wanted to chime
defending
in.
it
Let's
when you
cut.
don't even
Guys,
like
I'm gonna
it?
cut you guys off.
I think that Lauren has a point in saying that Karlyn's husband should be deported and calling out the illegality of her husband being here, and that Lauren shouldn't be banned off of Twitter. Lauren then continues to call Karlyn a hypocrite, in which that Karlyn has cheered for Lauren to be banned off of Twitter, even as Karlyn is a firm believer in the First Amendment. All in all, I really love the debate. And I think that Lauren will have a strong force in the Republican Party in the future. I hope that she will be given a bigger platform in the future. I love her combative style, which is a positive quality in her, and it fulfills the power she has in her to convince others to believe her. I believe that she has a winning spirit in her. She is so great despite what the haters have to say about her, and I hope that she has a giant voice in the future. Thanks everyone for watching my video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
What I'm
Right.
it's well, I let you speak.
The best thing you can do for us is
I-
grow out your mustache and tell people not to live like you. That is the best thing that you can do to help us, because you are
Christ
not
love,
helping.
Christ love, wafting off Lauren, Christ love.
Go at it, guys.